never changes. Departing the Super Duper Mart, Lucy followed the tracker planted in the scientist's head and came across Maximus trapped in his power armor, rescuing him from rad roaches and freeing him from the suit. Yet she too was in danger and soon collapsed from radiation sickness, so he treated her with Radaway, and upon waking they formed an alliance to track the head together. Beginning their journey, Lucy and Maximus, posing as Knight Thaddeus, met a pair from the Fiend's raider gang while crossing the same bridge and attempted to pass by peacefully, only for a gunfight to ensue, leaving the strangers dead and the squire wounded. For a while, Maximus insisted he was fine until passing a billboard that taught Lucy about Shady Sands, the thriving capital of the New California Republic, destroyed by nuclear blast in 2282. Shocked to see it had a population of over 34,000, Lucy realized the purpose of her vault, to restart civilization on Reclamation Day, was possibly unnecessary as civilization already returned on its own. Noticing Maximus getting worse, they stopped by Hawthorne Medical Lab, yet the Vault Tech-owned lab was connected to Vault 4, a fallout shelter run by scientists with no oversight or regulations, once featured in commercials starring Cooper Howard, and so both Lucy and Maximus fell through a trapdoor, landing in a room underground where their wounds were treated by friendly staff. Discovering a kind, diverse, and generous community, Maximus was initially skeptical, wanting to leave with the power armor recovered on his behalf, but soon embraced the luxuries of his Vault 4 home and was eager to stay. Lucy had the opposite journey, initially optimistic and praising of their policy to accept outsiders, even exploring a classroom where she learned about the New California Republic and first capital of Shady Sands. But her admiration turned to suspicion when she learned they were forbidden from visiting level 12 and witnessed outsiders performing a cult ritual to worship the Flame Mother Moldaver, the woman who abducted Lucy's father. Investigating level 12, Lucy discovered the remnants of horrifying human experiments where women were forced to birth schools of monstrous baby gulpers, horrifying fish-like creatures which viciously consumed their mothers. Throwing acid in the face of a scientist, Lucy assaulted several guards before they took her down, continuing her belligerence in captivity until shown a holotape that explained the situation. In reality, what Lucy saw were experiments conducted by the original leaders of Vault 4, scientists who tried to hybridize humans with radiation-resistant species. In time, the residents rebelled and released the Gulpers, which killed the scientists before escaping into the wasteland. Vault 4 was then turned into a peaceful settlement that accepted refugees and elected their leader. Too late, Lucy realized her error, and so was sentenced to death by banishment to the surface with 2 weeks' worth of supplies. Although Maximus was loving life in the vault, he saw Lucy dragged away and misunderstood the severity of her punishment, leading him to steal their fusion core, enter his power armor, assault guards, and spread chaos before Lucy revealed she was being released. Expelled from the vault, Lucy and Maximus apologized and returned their fusion core. Growing close, Lucy asked Maximus to join her in Vault 33 when their mission was over, but this made him feel guilty for his lies and so confessed his true identity, admitting he let Knight Thaddeus die. But Lucy experienced so many horrors in her short time on the surface, she immediately forgave him and again asked him to join her. Finally getting the acceptance and home he always wanted, Maximus agreed and went on with a renewed determination, helping Lucy follow her tracker to a nearby radio tower. After defeating Maximus, Thaddeus left Dogmeat at a red rocket station and hobbled on a crushed foot to contact the Brotherhood and deliver the head. Along the way, he encountered an eccentric wasteland doctor and exchanged a fusion core for an inhalant drug that immediately repaired his foot. Directing his patient to a nearby radio tower, the doctor mentioned the squire no longer had to worry about radiation and departed. Upon reaching the tower, Thaddeus sent a message to the Brotherhood and waited patiently until spotting Maximus and Lucy. Unsuccessfully firing at them, Thaddeus accidentally triggered a trap and was shot through the neck by an arrow, yet somehow did not die, with Maximus claiming he might be a ghoul. As non-humans were enemies of the Brotherhood, Maximus offered to take the head so Thaddeus could escape, and then gave it to Lucy so she could rescue her father, while he remained with a decoy head to distract the soldiers fast approaching. Grateful, she kissed Maximus and asked him to find her in Vault 33 before departing. Presenting the fake head to the Brotherhood, Elder Cleric Quintus quickly realized it did not contain the relic, suspecting Maximus also lied about injuring Dane. Fortunately for the failed squire, his life was spared when Dane interrupted and confessed to sabotaging himself. Speaking in private, the elder cleric seemed intrigued by Maximus and revealed he planned to start and lead a new Brotherhood of Steel, offering to make Maximus an enforcer if he led them to the real relic. As the Brotherhood prepared to move out in force, Lucy reached the Griffith Observatory where she found the remnants of an NCR faction led by Moldaver. Receiving the head, Moldaver revealed the truth to Lucy, explaining that the relic inside was a cold fusion device she invented 2 centuries earlier before the Great War to provide limitless energy, thereby solving many of the problems leading the world to nuclear annihilation. Yet the technology was purchased and hidden by Vault-Tec, as their corporation relied on threats of war to sell fallout shelters, increase profits, and enact their long-term plans. Entirely committed to an ultra-capitalist society, the former United States government outsourced the survival of their population to Vault-Tec, a private corporation which concluded that since America was doomed to destruction, it would be illogical to try and save a failed nation. Therefore, they focused their efforts on ensuring the survival of Vault-Tec executives and staff, while selectively saving other citizens they believed would help them survive underground and breed new generations that might one day restart civilization in their own image. Seeking support for this massive undertaking, Vault-Tec set up a meeting where shadowy figures watched the executives Bud Askins and Barbara Howard offer a partnership to Big MT, Repcon, Westtech, and Robco, some of the largest corporations in America, granting each of them ownership of several vaults to conduct unrestricted experiments seeking the best way to run a society. Among the suggestions made, they might overcrowd a vault so residents had to compete to survive, let an intelligent milk delivery robot oversee a vault, create super soldiers using illegal immigrants, release drugs into the air supply, and separate parents from children, letting only the smartest survive. Although most seemed interested in the idea, Robert House asked why they should make such a large investment into shelters that might never be used, as it all depended on an end-of-the-world scenario. However, Barbara Howard replied they could guarantee results by dropping the bombs themselves. In this way, those specific corporations could weaponize time and win the game of capitalism, eliminating every other human on Earth while holding a monopoly over the remaining population and future of humanity. Shocked by all she learned, Lucy's world truly collapsed when told of the management experiment conducted in her home of Vault 33, where Bud Askins integrated his Bud's Buds program, selecting a number of highly trained junior executives to be cryogenically frozen in Vault 31, periodically releasing them to lead Vaults 32 and 33, breeding with the population to produce new generations of super managers that would one day bring civilization back to the surface. To Lucy's horror, her father Hank MacLean was one of those junior executives, and when her mother Rose suspected the truth, she fled with her children to the surface where they found Shady Sands, a thriving city protected by the New California Republic, founded to reflect old-world democratic values with laws, an economy, currency, healthcare, elected representatives, and equal rights for ghouls and mutants. Enraged, she left with his children. Hank tracked her down, took them back, and used his Vault-Tec connections to drop a nuclear bomb on the city, justifying it beyond personal vengeance by seeking to eliminate a potential competitor on the surface. Lucy's final moment of heartbreak then came when Moldaver revealed the feral ghoul chained to the dinner table was her mother, Rose MacLean. Though her father tried to justify his actions, Lucy coldly asked him to give Moldaver the password needed to activate the cold fusion device. Reluctantly, Hank gave up the code, perhaps hoping to salvage the relationship with his daughter. Yet just as Moldaver began to realize her dream, the Brotherhood of Steel arrived in force, engaging in the Battle of the Griffith Observatory, wiping out NC forces and fatally wounding their leader. As all this went on, the ghoul recovered from nearly turning feral at the Super Duper Mart, and celebrated his recovery by enjoying a large stash of drugs while watching a movie from his past. Greatly changed from the man he was, Cooper Howard had an ideal life before the war, with a wife, child, successful career, and wealth. But everything started to go wrong when Barb convinced him to make ads and commercials for Vault-Tec, becoming the poster child for the end of the world. Tied to an organization that profited from the possibility of nuclear apocalypse, Cooper Howard began losing roles as other Hollywood actors refused to work with him. In conversation with one of his last remaining friends, Bartholomew Codsworth, who sold his voice to Mr. Handy, they discussed how success now depended on accepting an ultra-capitalist mentality, and those who foolishly stood against it would merely rob themselves of a chance to profit from the system. Yet even so, Cooper Howard struggled to accept the morality of the situation, growing upset when his wife revealed dogs were not allowed in the vaults. Questioning what other freedoms might be taken, Coop grew curious and met with his old war buddy Charlie Whitehorse, a fellow actor rumored to be a communist, who said Vault-Tec were evil because of their financial interest in disrupting peace talks and encouraging threats of nuclear war. Inviting Cooper to a meeting of citizens against Vault-Tec, he met their leader Miss Williams, later known as Moldaver, a scientist who explained she invented a cold fusion device for limitless power, which Vault-Tec bought and kept from the world, giving him a listening device to spy on his wife and learn the truth. Initially hesitant, he planted the device and waited in her office, where he listened to her meeting with other corporations, hearing her suggest they drop the bomb themselves. Stunned into silence, Cooper was then introduced to young Henry MacLean, his wife's executive assistant and a big fan who asked for an autograph. Waking up in the Super Duper Mart, the Ghoul was surrounded and arrested by police on behalf of the local government. As it turned out, the president of this small faction was an old acquaintance, but when the Ghoul brazenly confessed to destroying the organ dealer business and shooting up the town of Philly, he was sentenced to death. Quickly killing the guards and freeing himself, the Ghoul pulled down a wanted poster of Lee Moldaver, recognizing her as Miss Williams from before the war. Wanting to track her down, the Ghoul attempted to intercept NCR correspondence to learn her location, but after shooting one of Moldaver's followers, Rufus, the letter was partially destroyed. From the information he could read, he searched for the follower's younger brother Tommy, who also planned to join this NCR remnant, extracting Moldaver's location at the Griffith Observatory. Knowing Tommy might one day seek vengeance for his brother, the Ghoul baited him to reach for a gun and killed the boy in front of his father. Continuing forward, the Ghoul found and freed Dogmeat from the Red Rocket Station before arriving at NCR headquarters in the midst of a battle with the Brotherhood. Stealthily infiltrating the main building, the Ghoul confronted a room full of knights in power armor as well as squires that included Maximus, using his knowledge of a little-known weakness in their steel suits to destroy them all. Escaping the massacre, Maximus found Lucy in shock and, unaware of all that transpired, eagerly freed her father from captivity. Emerging from a daze, Lucy tearfully explained that her father bombed Shady Sands, leading Maximus to attack Hank MacLean. But it was too late, as Hank put on a suit of power armor while they spoke, and easily knocked the squire unconscious before asking Lucy to leave with him. Arriving as Lucy held a gun to her father, the Ghoul shot Hank in the cheek, and after searching for 200 years, demanded to know the location of his family. Saying nothing, Hank used the suit's jetpack to leap away, which the Ghoul allowed, planning to follow the trail and track down his superiors. Growing to respect Lucy, the Ghoul invited her to join him in Dogmeat on their adventures, but before leaving with him, she ended her mother's suffering and promised to one day return for the unconscious Maximus. Journeying east, they followed Hank MacLean to the Mojave Desert and city of New Vegas. Sometime later, Maximus awoke to find Moldaver activating the cold fusion reactor to finally complete her life's work by bringing limitless power to the city and wasteland. Fatally wounded and about to pass away, she asked Maximus what the Brotherhood would do with limitless power and suggested he try and stop them. Found by Dane and the rest of their men, they assumed he killed the enemy leader and so hailed Knight Maximus as a hero of the Brotherhood. Meanwhile, back in Vault 33, Norm wanted to know what happened in Vault 32 and did some research to learn every overseer for 32 and 33 came from 31, including Hank MacLean and Betty Pearson, who won the election to replace his father. Norm and Chet truly started to understand the danger when the prisoners were poisoned to death, and Vault 32 cleaned and made ready for new residents without any mention or concern about what they found. Frightened into silence, Chet did nothing and accepted a fresh start and relationship with Steph Harper, while Norm was undeterred, sneaking away during the transfer ceremony, where Chet and others moved from Vault 33 to 32. Entering the Overseer's office, he hacked the computer and sent a message to the Overseer of 31, impersonating Betty to claim the mission was at risk. Instructed to enter Vault 31, Norm found the robo-brain of Bud Askins, who oversaw the experiment and cryogenically frozen executives, periodically waking them for integration into the shelters. explaining the Buds program and their goal of breeding super managers. The Robo-Brain informed Norm he was locked inside the room and could not leave, suggesting he wait in his father's pod so he could be frozen, possibly for years, until a time when they would all be released and return to the surface. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Sir Dayron of House Ashford, Fred Heartless, Knight of Iron and Ice, Ishmam Ahmed of Shamidiana, and Barachado. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.